My name is Anna, and my stepmom threw me out of the house, so that's why I'm now a homeless person that eats food scraps out of dumpsters. But during that time, eating scraps was the least of my worries. My parents got divorced after my mom discovered that my dad cheated on her with a waitress. My mom gave up custody of me. It was her way of teaching my dad about responsibility. But 3 weeks later, my dad married that waitress. It was clear that he only did it because of her enormous breasts.
He must have been cheating for a long time, dude.
She made me do all the chores by myself. Meanwhile, she just sat and watched TV. I once broke a dish, and she screamed hysterically in my face and called me a savage. She served my food in a dog bowl that she put on
Alright, I'm gonna stop it right there.
the floor for me to eat from. Sometimes her dog would beat me there and eat my food first, and I would have to go to bed.
Legit stepmother
I had to put
scumbag.
an end to her evilness. So I told my dad everything, but he ignored it all and told me that he trusted her way of raising me and that he thought that she was raising me well.
Eating off the floor and sometimes going to bed starving?
Learn the hard way. He was
Learn what the hard way?
I walked out and headed to the yard where I kept a few little rats.
Scumbag of a
I fed
dad.
them some bits of bread that the dog had left for me in my bowl. Brownie, my favorite rat, looked sick, so I took him back into the house with me without anyone noticing and let him sleep next to me. A few hours later, I woke up to the screams of my stepmom. She was running around like a crazy person, and poor Brownie was holding onto her hair. He jumped on me when he saw me, and my stepmom pointed at me and said, "You witch! I know that you set that rat on me on purpose." And then she looked at my dad and said, "It's either me or her. You choose." Well, the choice was easy for him, and that was how my stepmom threw me out of the house. I hugged Brownie and went to my mom's house as I had no other place to go. When I arrived at her house, I knocked, and her new boyfriend opened the door, but he wouldn't let me in. He told me that my mom didn't want me in her life anymore. I heard my mom in the background asking, "Who is it?" "Just the pizza boy. He got the wrong address," he replied and slammed the door shut in my face. I walked on the streets.
At that point, I would just bang on the door and just scream, "Mom, it's me. You know, your daughter
So I ran after
that you gave up."
until we reached an abandoned building that had several homeless people standing inside it around a fire. One of them walked over to me and asked in a sharp tone, "Where do you think you're going?" "I want to spend the night in a warm place, that's all," I replied. She said, "Things don't work like that in here, little girl. You have to give us something in return." I looked in my backpack and found my makeup tools and Brownie's food. I gave her both. She took Brownie's food and said, "Are you serious? What on earth am I supposed to do with that?" While I was standing next to the fire, someone came up to me and started flirting with me. Suddenly, a huge person hugged me from behind, and I heard the voice of a woman saying, "She is mine now, my dear. Go find yourself another one." Even though it felt kinda nice to be hugged, she smelled horrible, like she hadn't showered in months. I laid next to her that night because I had no other choice. She wouldn't let me out of her sight. I waited until she had fallen asleep. Then I snuck out. But on the way out, Brownie hit a box that was on the floor, and it made a loud noise. Suddenly, the big woman woke up. I started running and screaming, "Run, Brownie, run!" The woman started chasing us, and I thought we wouldn't make it. After running for what felt like forever, we were exhausted. I stood next to a dumpster to catch my breath. There was a kitten that was nibbling on a half-eaten McDonald's meal that had been thrown away. It was like a dream come true for me. I leaned forward to share the meal with the cat. I tried to act like a cat so that it would think that I was a cat too. I got down.
Dude, how old are you?
But the cat wasn't as stupid as I was. My plan didn't work. It knew exactly what I was trying to do. The cat jumped on my face.
Are you 10 or something?
All I could see were its little paws scratching my face. Finally, a man passed by and got her off of me. And the whole time, Brownie just hid behind the dumpster, leaving me to be attacked all alone. The man offered to buy me.
He's a mouse! What is he supposed to do?
I couldn't refuse an offer like that. I mean, I was starving. He ordered me a family-sized meal that was meant for 4 people. He asked me what a little girl like me was doing in a dark, scary alley all alone at night. My stepmother threw me out of the house.
So I'm guessing she's a
I
child?
told him between bites. Suddenly, A piece of meat flew out of my mouth and landed on his face. I expected him to freak out, but instead, he just cleaned it off with an expensive napkin and laughed out loud. I suddenly started to feel sleepy, and I could no longer see anything other than that man.
I mean, it makes sense. She's been
I could
running
barely
the entire
keep my
time.
eyes open, and
She hasn't been getting
suddenly,
any sleep.
I was falling asleep.
Yeah,
food.
your body's taking
When
a toll
I
on you.
opened my eyes, all I saw was white. For a moment, I thought I'd gone blind. But after a few moments, my vision returned to normal and became clear once again. I realized I was lying on an operating table inside what looked like a hospital room. In the beginning, I thought I was there because I was sick, but then I heard the man that took me to McDonald's speaking to a woman that was lying on the operating table next to me. They mustn't have noticed that I had woken up. He said to her, "Don't worry, dear. Everything will be fine. I have done all the necessary tests for that homeless girl. We will transfer her kidney to your body in 1 hour." Oh my
Dude, that
God,
thing just took
I
to the
had been
hospital because she
kidnapped,
fainted.
and now they were planning to steal my kidney. There was no way I was gonna let that happen, I thought to myself. Just because he'd bought me a McDonald's meal didn't mean that I now owed him my kidney in return. I closed my eyes
So
so that
stupid.
they
That
didn't
sentence is
notice
so
that I'd
stupid.
woken up.
Just
I
because you
waited
bought
for
me a
the right
McDonald's meal
moment so I
doesn't
could
mean
run
I owe
away
you my
from that
kidney.
place.
That's
The
just
man put on
so
a pair of
God.
gloves, and I could tell
This
he was
story,
getting ready
man.
for the operation he was about to perform. So I quickly jumped up and ran towards the door. However, he was faster than me, and he grabbed me. I started fighting and struggling with him. I kicked the other operating table so hard that the other patient fell off of it. He screamed in my face, "You stupid girl, what have you done?" and ran over to her to help her back onto the table. She could barely move.
Press X
At
to
that
doubt.
moment, I managed to escape from the room.
Dude, you're
Little
just
Brownie
so,
was
like,
scratching
if
at
you
the
haven't
door with
eaten
his
in
paws.
days,
It was clear
and you're able to
he
do
wanted to get out
that,
of that
taking a
torture
fully
zone
grown
as
woman
much as
and a
I did.
heavy
When I
operating
left the
table
room that
on its
seemed like a
side,
hospital to me,
I don't believe you are.
I
And
was
that
shocked
you
to
are a little
discover
girl,
that I was actually
I don't believe you are.
Obviously,
This story
that
isn't
guy
true.
wasn't even a doctor. Was I supposed to be their human mouse lab? Or was he running a crazy Frankenstein experience on my body? I thought I had escaped from him, but I found myself in a big maze that had no way out. I hid under the stairs and decided that I needed to fight for my life, or I wasn't going to make it. I waited until the man got closer to where I was, and I quickly pulled my leg out in the dark, and he tripped over it and fell on the floor. I screamed, "Brownie, bite his ear!" I could swear that Brownie was the bravest rat I ever met. He caused the man's ear to bleed, and I heard him crying like a little child as he started running away from us. It took me
Running
a few
away?
minutes
Dog!
after that to find
That's
my
a
way
little
out
girl and a
before
hamster.
I escaped that hell mansion.
a
All
legit
that running
grown.
had
He's a rich
destroyed me.
man. He's
I
smart.
couldn't bear it
He
any
could do
longer,
surgery, I
so I
think.
just passed out in the
A
middle
normal
of the
person
street.
would just
The
rip
next
that
moment,
mouse
I
off
was opening
and
my
chase the
eyes
girl.
and realized
This
that I
story
was
is
being
completely
carried by a
fake.
very handsome guy. He put me in his truck and took me to his home. I told him everything that had happened to me.
God, sketchy as well.
Luckily,
Okay,
he had been out chasing a
I don't.
stray dog when he found me. He was an animal rescuer who rescued stray dogs, treated them, then put them up for adoption. Because of that, I didn't put up a fight. He seemed like a really nice guy. From then on, my life started getting better. I now make enough money for both me and Brownie, and I love my job. And there is
How
nothing
old
better
are
than
you?
saving stray dogs and giving them to a loving family that you know will treat them with love. In a way, those dogs remind me of myself, and of all the horrid ways in which my stepmom used to treat me. After I settled down, I decided to get back at her and my dad. Every time I went out to find stray dogs, I'd collect rats and mice that I found. I collected nearly 100 of them, and I began training them the same way I used to train Brownie. I would simply have to show
Okay,
them a
Disney
picture
princess.
of my
All right.
stepmother's ugly face and work on tricks that should get them to chase her. I'll confess that it was a lot of effort, but it was totally worth the revenge I was planning for my mother. After I went back to my old house, I put my
Your
precious
stepmother.
rats through the old cat.
And what about your real
front
mother
door,
who left
and
you?
Brownie led them
No
into
revenge
the
on that
house.
part?
Then I snuck away from there before anyone could catch me. It wasn't long before the screams of my dad and his wife filled the air. They ran out of the house in their pajamas, and I laughed so hard. They'd finally got what they deserved after everything they'd done to
No,
me.
they didn't.
A week later,
No,
I passed
did
by
not.
the house while I was on duty, and I saw my dad and his wife putting boxes into a moving company van. They must have decided to move out. The best part was that Brownie had been chasing my stepmom all week long. It might have been the
How would
hardest
you know
year of
that?
my life,
Would
but
you just show
it was
up every
okay.
day?
Everybody can make their life better if they really try. And hey, at least I still have my kidney and Brownie. So guys, what did you think of my story? Please let me know in the comments
I think
below.
it's fake.
And don't forget to like this video
It's fake.
and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos.
That has nothing to do
every
with
day.
melons.